Oh, what are we?
See why I ran out of the house?
Oh, why?
You. But she called me. Yeah, I know what she called me for.
What?
You have me unload the car? Because you're let. All right, I think I got a chance right here. Yep, sure did. Joe, you know what this says outside?
What?
94 degrees.
You know what people on my podcast were saying? I found the full game on the CBS broadcast. My buddy that was at the game, it's on the podcast because CK was at the game, and the guy one of the guys on the TV broadcast, it amazes me how it's 9 o'clock at night and it's still in the 90s. I think there was like there probably was like a gallon of sweat spilled at the stadium the other day. Wow, wow, wow. When did Mommy call you?
She texted me.
When?
I texted her if she wanted me to bring her any food.
What'd she
say? We'll go to Gammy.
Is she going?
She's already there, I guess. I hope she brought the dog.
Probably, but then Gammy...
Probably not.
Gammy... doesn't really like that too much, so...
Gammy doesn't like any damn thing, Joe.
I know, but...
You know? I remember when we made the mistake. I made a mistake. I said, you know, they're fixing the house. Let's go stay with her. So she wouldn't be alone. All she did was bitch, and the dog, and bed. I left and slept in the ruins rather than have to listen to that shit.
Daddy.
What?
If that ever happens again, you know what we do?
We'll get a hotel.
Downtown.
Wherever. Just get a hotel. Hope that doesn't happen again.
We'll just go to the beach. were staying in downtown, I can easily take public transit to work. Because, see, the thing about STS downtown, 95% of those drivers do not know how to drive downtown.
Really?
You know that?
Hello?
This is Ricky. How are you? Hello?
Yes, who is this?
This is Ricky. And I was actually reaching out to you, sir, about the property over there, 2354 Whitland Lane. And I wanted to know if you meant to go for a cash offer.
I don't own any of those properties, man. All right, have a good day.
One of those things that brings me to the question of the Umwelt, which is a German word, which says, look, all the creatures that live on this planet, all of them have their own abilities and their own way of sort of experiencing being on Earth. This story points up the deep mystery when two species decide to do something together. In this case, humans say, let's race, and the bird says, I'm for it. And then off they go. But then what goes on in the bird's mind and what goes on in the people's mind are such different things. It's very hard to cross that sort of barrier of no understanding, like of nothing shared. Umwelt is the word that says that each creature lives really in its own sensual universe. We can do things with each other, but can we understand what's going on in each other? No, we can't. That's, to me, a kind of beautiful thing.
Robert, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The Umwelt seems like a fitting place to end this episode. After all, the concept describes how, even though we all share the same world, how our fellow creatures and our fellow humans experience it will always be something of a mystery. For me, as a radio producer, I wanted to make this episode because I'm fascinated by sound. That's our medium, it's our bread and butter. So here's to the fluctuating hum of the grid, and the vibrations that emanate from the very land we walk on, and to compassion for those whose experiences we can only guess at. And that's it for this week's show. On the Media is produced by Eloise Blondio, Molly Schwartz, Rebecca Clark-Callender, Candice Wong, and Suzanne Gabber, with help from Sean Merchant. Our technical director is Jennifer Munson, of course. Our engineer this week was Andrew Nerviano, and a big thanks to Jared Paul for his scoring and sound design. Katia Rogers is our executive producer. On the Media is a production of WNYC Studios. I'm Micah Lowinger. Good afternoon. You just finished listening to On the Media here on 90.7 WFAE and WFAE.org. I'm Ben Cole. The National Weather Service has just issued a severe thunderstorm watch for Alexander and Catawba counties until 4:40 p.m. Support comes from WFAE listeners and the Kenan Institute of Private Enterprise at UNC Kenan Flagler Business School. hosting the Frontiers of Business Conference October 12th and 13th in Chapel Hill. Registration at frontiers.unc.edu. This is 90.7 WFAE Charlotte, 90.3 WFHE Hickory, and WFAE.org, Charlotte's NPR news source. It's 4 o'clock.
Welcome to NewsHour. It's live from the BBC World Service in London. I'm Tim Franks. The Zimbabwean opposition decries the election results as a sham and says that President Emmerson Mnangagwa should be president no more.
We are saying that from what we've gathered, the evidence we have, which will present in due course at the appropriate time, President Nelson Chamisa is the victor in this election.
I'll put the claims of a rigged process and a disastrous economy to the Justice Minister. Also, Russian officials confirmed that the Wagner paramilitary boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, did die in Wednesday's plane crash.
I knew it.
The picturesque Austrian town tried to hold back the millions of tourists. And the gallery of improbable characters who made English what it is.
The Oxford English Dictionary was definitely the Wikipedia of the 19th century. Basically, it was this huge crowdsourced project.
Remarkable history story after the news.
This is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. Russian investigators have confirmed that the mercenary leader who staged a mutiny against President Putin in June was among those killed in a plane crash on Wednesday. DNA testing concluded that Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group, was one of the 10 people who died. Here's Danny Eberhard.
Yevgeny Prigozhin's adult life started inauspiciously, jailed in Soviet times for a string of crimes. After his release, the 1990s saw him embrace catering. He started humbly, selling hot dogs, then ran restaurants in St. Petersburg, where he met a fellow native of the city, Vladimir Putin. That opened a path to lucrative state catering contracts. Gradually, the man nicknamed Putin's chef stuck his fingers in other pies, internet troll farms and Wagner among them. The paramilitary group did much of the Kremlin's dirty work in the Middle East, Africa and Ukraine. Prigozhin was brash, brave and brutal.
Reports from southern Ukraine suggest the country's armed forces have broken through some of Russia's key defensive positions. Paul Adams has more details.
Ukraine's offensive in the south has been slow going, but after 3 months of tough fighting southeast of Zaporizhia, some Ukrainian units do finally appear to have broken through Russia's formidable first line of defense. As usual, the government here in Kiev is saying very little about how its forces are getting on, but this could mark a significant moment. Russia's defences have so far been well organised, but Moscow's forces have been under enormous pressure for months now. It's not known how strong their remaining defensive lines are, or how they'll respond to the latest developments.
The opposition leader in Zimbabwe, Nelson Chamisa, has accused President Emmerson Mnangagwa of carrying out a coup. President Mnangagwa has dismissed international criticism of the poll, calling the election fair and peaceful. Shingai Nyoka reports from Harare.
It's not a surprise that these elections have ended up in dispute. Nelson Chamisa of the opposition Citizens Coalition for Change got 44% of the vote. At a press conference, he accused the electoral body of announcing false results, but he's yet to provide the evidence. International observers also criticized the elections. The governing ZANU-PF party has urged the opposition to take any dispute to court. Mr. Chamisa has a week to do so, but he did not say whether his party would take the legal route. He said there'd be a change in Zimbabwe, whether ZANU-PF wanted it or not.
Ethiopia and Egypt say talks have resumed in Cairo to end a lengthy diplomatic row about a huge dam on the River Nile. Egypt and Sudan have long feared that their water supply will be threatened by Ethiopia's $5 billion project. Addis Ababa says the hydroelectric dam is essential to power millions of households and help eradicate poverty. World News from the BBC. Reports from Yemen say Houthi rebels have killed 10 soldiers in the south of the country. Security sources say 4 of the Iran-backed rebels also died in the surprise attack. The Houthis reportedly targeted a site controlled by several